How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and yes, you do see a story about Taylor Swift on the screen before you. I don't normally do like pop culture type stuff, music artists and stuff, but this one I needed to do. I saw a piece of this on Mark Dice's channel, and shout out to him. He did a video, not necessarily about this specifically, I don't believe, but this article was included in one of his videos, and he keyed in on a point I really wanted to get at in depth by reading the article along with you and seeing what this person from Buzzfeed, which is what this website is. Obviously, this is Buzzfeed. I wanted to see where they were coming from and how they tied what they said together with some evidence and made it make sense. So you see the title on the screen before you. Taylor Swift's persona is not built for 2017. And the subhead says, in 2017, Swift is still absenting herself from the cultural conversation while simultaneously trying to center herself in it. Okay. And then you see the person's name, Alana Bennett. This is a BuzzFeed news reporter. Let's see if we can get a closer look at Miss Alana. This is a black woman, it looks like. Yes. This was written a few days ago, November the 10th, 2017. Or this was posted a few days ago. I'm not quite sure when it was written. And there's Taylor Swift. You know, cultural icon. I don't know about any of her music. I know that song Bad Blood because I feel like I've heard it on TV. I don't even watch TV like that, and I feel like I've still heard that song. But beyond that, I really don't know who she is. Oh, and I also know her because of the whole Kanye West situation. Remember that? I won't let you finish, but Beyonce is the best of all time. That's like iconic when he went on the stage and grabbed the microphone from her. But beyond that, if you were to ask me to name 3 Taylor Swift songs, we'd be here all day. Grab a Snickers. But I digress. Let's get to the actual article. Taylor Swift's reputation is a complicated mess. Love her or hate her, she knows this, and we know this. It's what her newest album, Reputation, is all about. One would need a corkboard and miles of red string to sort out the full medley of exasperation that has accompanied conversation about Taylor Swift over the past few years. Oh, really? You don't say? I wouldn't know anything about that. So I guess you're going to tell me about all things Taylor Swift. In one quadrant of tacked up evidence are Swift's celebrity feuds, generally juicy, but also exhaustively long running. In another, you'd find everything about Swift's personal life that alternately grates and thrills, depending on your preference. Move over a little from there, and you'll find Swift's image itself, willowy blonde and aggressively white. That is the part that I saw in Mark Dice's video. What does it mean to be aggressively white? I want to know that. And as far as I know, she's a natural blonde. I mean, I did a little bit of research before this video, and I typed into Google, is Taylor Swift a natural blonde? You know, I saw pictures of her as a child, and she has blonde hair. So, I mean, is it her fault that she was born with blonde hair, blue eyes? Like, is her genetic makeup like something that she needs to go to jail for? Should she go to the gulag for that? How do you become less aggressively white? And then put the shoe on the other foot. What if somebody was complaining about somebody being aggressively black? And what does it even mean? How are you aggressively black, aggressively white? Maybe you can, raise your black fist up if you want to be aggressively black. But what does she do to be aggressively white? Again, I don't know much about her at all. So maybe she's going to explain how she's aggressively white. I doubt it, but we're going to see. Perhaps in an awkward corner close by are the white supremacist fans who've claimed her as a figurehead. So already we've got into calling her aggressively white, talking about she's affiliated with white supremacists through proxy, so to speak. This is going to be a long article. In any blank space, you'll find her political silence and her idiosyncratic ways of communicating with the public. Somewhere scattered among all this is her actual music, a genre torn as ever, but permanently catchy. Altogether, you've got a map without roads, the landscape to how we view a public figure who is alternately aggravating and illuminating. Okay, I mean, is it wrong to be politically silent? I prefer people that are in music, pop stars and all of that. Just don't even talk about politics. Because us on the right, many of us in general, even if you're not on the right, you might be on the left, center right. We're kind of tired of having these celebrities trying to preach down to us from their avatars in the sky, telling us how to live, telling us the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do, like they're Jesus Christ. You just go over there and you play your banjo, you do your tap dancing, your booty shaking or whatever, and let us handle our everyday lives with our families and our children and stuff like that. Okay. What you do with your entertainment is irrelevant to politics. Just entertain people and that's it. Stay in your lane and handle that and let us handle our lives. And the article goes on. With the release of Reputation, an album whose concept hinges its title on Swift's persona and how we view it, the pop star's ability to navigate the tangled web surrounding her name is front and center. Swift remains one of the most powerful figures in entertainment today, with a large bevy of stans. If you don't know what a stan is, that's like a fan that's like overboard. Eminem had a song called Stan back when Eminem was a good artist, but I digress. A large bevy of stans who would still follow her anywhere. But can Swift's way of doing things keep up with the mounting pressures of a culture whose priorities have shifted? And a behind the scenes clip for the Look What You Made Me Do music video, Swift talks into the camera about the decision to wear the same dress in the video that she wore to the 2014 Met Gala, which is colloquially known as the start of Swift's 1989 era. This is a shot of like me in a grave as if I was buried in that dress, she said, which is an interesting and thought-provoking idea. That era, after all, is known in Swiftian history. Okay, whatever that is, as a period of time when everything went off the rails and the public turned on her. As I read this article, I'm just, getting into it in a very brief sense. I'm not even really all the way into it, but she seems like a stan. And when I say she, I'm talking about the person who wrote this article, like Swiftian history. Like, is that really a thing that people talk about when you're talking about a music artist? Do you follow the whole lineage like that? I don't know, but let's keep going. But the 1989 era started off downright swimmingly. In fact, the time between November 2014 and July 2015 was one of the most fruitful eras of Swift's career. It wasn't just her longtime stans who were doing what they do best, standing, which is like, being overboard, kind of like stalking, that type of stuff. She had won a lot of mainstream goodwill with a very well-received album, a public declaration that she grown to consider herself a feminist, and a music video that poked fun at the persona people had long lampooned her for. And the slide from 2014 to 2015, Swift's strategy was working. A Time critic, Sam Lansky, wrote of 1989, thematically too, Swift breaks from the past, skirting victimhood and takedowns of maddening execs, critics, and romantic competitors. Instead, there's a newfound levity. Not only is Swift in on the joke, but she also relishes it. Then in July 2015, the nominations for Video of the Year for the 2015 MTV Video Music Awards were announced. Swift was nominated for the music video Bad Blood. That's the only song I know, because I didn't heard that song so much, just like not even listening to radio or watching TV like that. I don't know how I listen. I don't know how I hear it, but I hear it some way. Nicki Minaj, who was not nominated for the daring, if not provocative, video for Anaconda, tweeted an accusation that the VMAs were more likely to celebrate other girls for their accomplishments. Quote, women with very slim bodies, unquote. Swift jumped to the conversation, literally making it about her. I've done nothing but love and support you, she wrote on Twitter. It's unlike you to pit women against each other. Maybe one of the men took your slot. Minaj responded with confusion and then said, what about you? Kept fighting. Who cares? Like, this is really, I'm kind of embarrassed by doing this, but I need to get to the bottom of what's going on here. Anyone who follows Swift knows the general outline of her most famous feuds. Much has been made of Swift's falling out with Katy Perry and of her alarmingly long-standing beef with Kanye West. Perhaps most epically in the history of Swiftian Shakespearean drama came the moment in July 2016 when Kim Kardashian West posted a video to her Snapchat that appeared to show Swift agreeing to endorse West's song Famous, or at least a part of it, despite that Swift eventually took a public stance against the song. Every one of those episodes is part of the swirling excess of the Swift narrative. The Kardashian West incident in particular acted as a climax that culminated in Swift being publicly branded a snake on social media for the perceived lie. Soon after, Swift left the public eye for a stretch of time before re-emerging to release Reputation. And the resulting album, which leaked yesterday, a day before the official release today, spends a considerable amount of time seemingly blaming Swift's reputational fallout on the feud with West and on a too eager media. It would have been naive to discount the impact of the Snapchat videos that came out of Swift back and forth with West. They branded her snake, liar, image manipulator in the way that is stuck. But to blame Swift's entire image problem on West or the media is to ignore a crucial element that came into the forefront of American culture around 1989 era, as well as Swift was dealing with the public drama surrounding her name. Other cultural conversations are speeding along. In the U.S., Swift's battle with Kardashian faded into the background as the country was swallowed whole by an election that brought conversations about sexism and white supremacy to the forefront of everyday politics. So we've gone from talking about catfighting, girls fighting on Twitter over whose music video was the best, or she's slim and I'm jealous because she's slim and I'm not, and all this and that stupid stuff. We've gone from 0 to 100 quite literally in a matter of a second. We've gone from that to talking about white supremacy and the election. Like, how did we get here? Is everything that we talk about over the next few years going to be about Trump and white people being just evil? Is that what it's going to be about? This is part of the reason why Trump got elected. So as long as these articles keep coming out, you're going to see Taylor Swift and anyone that does not want to be involved in politics, or those that want to be involved in politics but want to be involved on the right, you're going to see us continue to climb, while people like the person who wrote this article are going to continue to fade. But let's get back to the article. These conversations never entirely fade into the background, of course, and were absolutely present when Nicki Minaj called out the racism of the VMAs during Swift 1989 era. Racism, just because you don't win an award doesn't mean it's racist. I mean, do you have to win, or do you have to be nominated for something in order for it to not be racist? And if the criteria for an award nomination and or win is race, then what does the award mean? It's meaningless at this point. Really, I think a lot of these awards are meaningless anyway. They're just like ways for record labels to promote their artists. That's it. If you got a popular artist, you put them on the VMAs or whatever the award show is, they get a lot of attention. It's just like putting somebody on Super Bowl. You get a lot of attention for the artist. A lot of times they don't even really get paid for a Super Bowl. They might get paid a little bit of money or nothing at all, because the point is not even about getting paid. It's about the exposure. So awards are already meaningless in my mind, but then when you add race into it, it's just transparently meaningless. But back to the article. When Swift inserted herself into the conversation, she stepped into something much bigger than herself. Swift apologized swiftly after an onslaught of backlash. I missed the point. I misunderstood, then misspoke. She wrote, "I'm sorry, Nicki," but the pair even capped it off with a joint performance at the VMAs, but it was too late. Swift had already linked herself to an ever-growing conversation about the damage racism can do, especially when that damage presents itself as white innocence and or oblivion. Racism. So like, okay, did I miss something here? Like, I'm reading the article and I'm trying to keep up with it. I'm trying to comprehend. I'm trying to, stick with what's going on. Who's racist? Is Taylor Swift racist? Like, what did she do? What did she do? I don't get it. Like, if you know what Taylor Swift did that's racist in what I've read so far, please let me know in the comments below. I'm kind of don't know what's going on here. It's a bleach stain that never really left Swift's persona, and one that took on an even more intense tenor after the 2016 election. Here we go. Predating the Minaj incident, but potentially egged on by it, Swift has long had a curious issue. Nazis love her. Ever blind with a public presence linked to ideas of purity, images of Swift have circulated in alt-right internet circles for years. Is that her fault? I mean, really, she's born with blonde hair, blue eyes. Is that her fault for her genetic makeup? I mean, I'm asking the question again, like, how are you trying to link that to her? What does it got to do with her? Quote, "We are certain that as soon as the Nazis saw her, they were magnetically drawn to her sculpted Aryan form and angelic demeanor," said Andrew Anglin, founder of neo-Nazi blog The Daily Stormer. Why do these people always bring up The Daily Stormer? Like, that's a serious publication, really. I mean, come on. Why did they always bring up the Daily Stormer? Why can't they bring up a more serious publication? I don't understand. The entire alt-right patiently awaits the day when we can lay down our swords and kneel before her throne. He said, as she commands us to go forth and slaughter the subhuman enemies of the Aryan race. Like, you put that in the article for real? Am I reading parody right here? You put that in the article for real? Like that, I thought that was funny. I think that's not something to really be seen as serious. Okay? You think these guys that are posting memes online are going to go on the street with a sword and then slay enemies? I mean, come on. Like, let's be serious. This is the infamous moment. You see the picture on the left-hand side of the screen. That's the infamous moment where Kanye West took the microphone away from Taylor Swift when she won for some video award or something, and then he thought Beyonce should have won, and he said Beyonce had the best album of all time. Is that in the third? That's when I found out who she was. Before that, I didn't know. But apparently, she had been very popular, like amongst white people. I just didn't know who she was. Quite frankly, I'm not involved with pop music or rap music. I'm more in the metal. So anyway, the Nazi connection is not one Swift has ever recorded, at least not in any active, provable, or logically tangible way. So basically, you leaving the door open saying maybe she did, but we can't prove it. Okay. But it's not one she can seem to shake off either. And as white supremacist groups take center stage in a news cycle more and more throughout 2017, the connection grows more troublesome for Swift. As a public entity, Swift's strategy around politics has been silenced throughout most of her career, so much so that the fact she has previously publicly distanced herself from the groups has been drowned out by our lack of public endorsement for any candidate in the 2016 election. Oh, and that persistent perception or running joke that she voted for Trump in 2016. I mean, what does that got to do with anything? Like I said earlier, I prefer people that are in music, entertainers, to stay away from politics. Just do what you do, stay in your lane. The politics stuff, keep that personal. Don't be out there with it. Just go out there, sing, dance, and that's it. I'm thinking she's doing the right thing. She's the person writing this is trying to like bully her into so-called picking the side, right? If she comes out as a Trump supporter, then that means she's racist. Okay, so she has to support Hillary Clinton, somebody who is an open racist, talking about super predators. Her husband had the crime bill in 1994 that put a lot of black men behind bars. She is the kind of person that you really should not endorse. And Bernie Sanders is like a pure communist who would put the nation into poverty, black, white, Puerto Rican, candy stripe, whatever color you are. So, I mean, who's to say that your opinion, the person writing this article, is right and that Taylor Swift for not picking the side is wrong? But let's get back to the article. Swift's relative silence on politics may have worked for the majority of her career so far, but by the time 1989 era came to a close, a lot of Swift standby strategies are already proving themselves outdated. And as a sizable portion of the U.S. entered panic mode politically, the perceived stakes of anyone's silence seemed to grow exponentially. In 2017, Swift team spotted a pop front blog post by Megan Hernan called swiftly to the alt-right. Taylor subtly gets the lower case KKK information. Wow. That's, man, these pop culture references. I think that Formation is a Beyonce song. So they talk about, that's like a pop culture reference right there. In October, Swift and her lawyer sent a letter to Herning threatening a defamation lawsuit if she didn't retract the post. Then the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, got a hold of the letter and publicly called out Swift's attempts to suppress constitutionally protected speech, as ACLU of Northern California attorney Michael Risher told Entertainment Weekly. I mean, nah, because they're trying to associate her with the KKK. You know, that is defamation. And you can't say that, you know, it's First Amendment, because you can't do certain things. You can't say whatever you want to say. You can't yell fire, and you can't yell fire in the building when it's not burning. You can't call somebody and give them a terrorist threat. And if you say something like that on a blog and it can damage reputation, that can be libel and or slander. You can't do that. You can actually get sued for that. And Swift could win depending upon the evidence in the situation and also the judge or whatever. In the letter, Swift's lawyers do state the pop star's opinions on the alt-right. Let this letter stand as yet another unequivocal denouncement by Ms. Swift of white supremacy and the alt-right. They write, calling associations of Swift with white supremacy disgusting. But they also state that the letter is confidential and not to be published. Somebody broke the confidentiality agreement, didn't they? Because I'm seeing it right now. I'm seeing stuff from it. And when the statement did go public, it was via a scolding by the ACLU. Swift representatives did not respond to multiple requests from BuzzFeed News for comment. And that's her right there. I think she's probably got in trouble for that video right there, too, because I'm seeing some so-called cultural appropriation, which is just her trying to be culturally inclusive. It's weird. It's like you can't do anything. If you don't incorporate other cultures, then you get accused of ignoring, being white-centered, aggressively white. But then when you do embrace other cultures, incorporate other cultures, you get accused of cultural appropriation. So how do you win as a white person, especially? Silence is not uncommon for the biggest celebrities. Beyonce, for example, effectively stopped giving interviews when she reached a certain level of prominence. She's practically made an art of selective silence, and it's a choice that has proven effective in guarding her personal life and even certain parts of her personality from the public. But Beyonce is also exceptionally skilled at towing the line of silence, but without crossing over into perceived complicity with embedded forces like white supremacy and misogyny. I'm saying, but Taylor Swift denounced white supremacy in that letter. Was supposed to be private, but she denounced it publicly before. So what do you want her to do? What do you really want her to do? Beyonce did endorse a candidate in the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton, and her renowned visual album Lemonade is as political as it is intimate. Beyonce's silence and her speech alike fuel her power, showing up her gates against this particular kind of public backlash that has accompanied Swift's persona in the last 2 years. Of course, by nature of that very history of racism and misogyny, Beyonce has always had a much higher bar to clear than Swift to reach similar kinds of success. Okay, maybe the person just likes Beyonce better is writing this. I'm not really sure what's going on. The world around Swift is not at all limited to the fused relationships that have marked her narrative. By watching the strange dance she does between engaging and retreating in her relationship to the public and listening to Reputation, one gets the impression that she thinks it is. Consider how many times conversations around Swift circle back to the perception that she hasn't grown, matured, or changed. That's a sticking point in part because the culture Swift's persona exists in has evolved to see her in a very different context, while that persona hasn't evolved to account for the world around her. Most of Swift's personal reactions to the world revolve around, well, what the world is saying about Swift. That can work sometimes. After all, Swift still remains heavily popular even now. Her power of perception hasn't faded irreparably, and certainly her economic power does not show signs of waning. But through the lens of a culture, especially popular culture that involves progressives actively battling white supremacy. Okay, so basically, if you involve a white culture, you got to be progressive, right? And you got to battle this so-called white supremacy. You can't just be agnostic politically. You got to be involved with that fight, right? Okay, I got you. Swift is intrinsically linked to whiteness and privilege. I mean, should she apologize for being white? How does a white person not be linked to whiteness? And what is whiteness anyway? Define that. I want somebody to define what this word whiteness means. And privilege. I mean, all these entertainers are privileged. Beyonce's privileged too. I mean, look at how much money she has. She probably has more money than Taylor Swift, or it could be right around the same amount. And also, I think Swift is single. I don't think she's married. But Beyonce's married to Jay-Z, both of whom are millionaires. So when talking about privilege, what do you mean? They both have money and Beyonce has more money than her. So I don't understand. And in 2017, she is still absenting herself from the cultural conversation while simultaneously trying to center herself in it. Perspective is everything. While it may not destroy an artist's cultural power, their ability to remain relevant and capture audiences time and time again, it can eventually make or break a reputation. Okay. That's enough for me on Miss Taylor Swift and this whole kerfuffle going on here. I'm gonna park it right here. You see Swift on the left, of course, and Nicki Minaj on the right wearing similar outfits. I'm not really sure what's going on with this, where they're at. Maybe some award show or something like that. Let me see if they got a subhead. It doesn't really say. Final thoughts on this. It's kind of crazy to just, to try and almost bully somebody into being political when they don't want to be. I like when I like when celebrities, people that are in the public eye, people that have a following, especially of young people behind them, that they don't really take radical stances in politics. I would like for everybody to be a conservative and preach that to the children, but I know that's not being fair because I wouldn't want them to be doing it if they were the other way around, if they were liberal. So I just say, if you are in entertainment, if you are a sports star, whatever the case may be, just be agnostic politically and lead a good life off of the field, off of the stage, off of wherever you make your money at in front of a large audience of people. Okay. Go out there, volunteer for the kids, plant trees, just don't get in no trouble. Don't be drinking and drugging, acting the fool on Instagram and Twitter. Just lead a good life as an entertainer. That's enough for me. I don't need you to be out there with a sign talking about hands up, don't shoot. He didn't do nothing, all this, that, and the third. I don't need that from you. All I need you to do is to go out there and lead a good life, and that's it for me. So what do you think? Do you think that Taylor Swift must atone for her whiteness, for her aggressive whiteness? Is it her fault that she was born this way and people are gravitating towards her because of that reason? I mean, what can she really do? If you think that the article was on point and the woman was on point, what can Taylor Swift do to fix whatever she has going on? Should she become Rachel Dolezal, just become a black woman? I mean, I think I've seen her get a lot of love from the left, okay, especially the black left. I was surprised. The black left surprises me a lot. The left in general surprises me a lot, but the black left really surprised me on this one. I thought they'd say, okay, you can't have this person basically putting on blackface and pretending to be black, but hey, they accepted her. They accept Sean King. These are two white people, obviously white, pretending to be black, and it's not really a big deal. And the reason is because they have the leftist, so-called progressive ideology. So I guess if Taylor Swift becomes an open and vocal progressive, she could be one behind closed doors, but she doesn't want to put it out there to the public. She's got to be a public so-called progressive, a liberal, and basically that's fine. If she can do that, that's good. She don't have to go all the way as far as like claiming she's black. Obviously she's not, but if she's a progressive, that's good enough. That's kind of crazy to force people to do certain things like that just because you want them to do it. But I don't have anything else to say. Whatever your comments are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.